Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for
Now,
having me.
y'all triggered Rosenberg this weekend. You was up there with Mero and them, and then Rosenberg jumped on the IG talking about, what was you saying?
So, no, the clip.
Oh boy, here we go, you guys. Listen to this. Is N.O.R.E. taking a shot at Ebro and Rosenberg? Or is Peter Rosenberg just being too sensitive? Ever since Rosenberg and Ebro left Hot 97, it feels like a lot of people are happy they're gone. Back in December, several New York artists spoke out, saying these guys were gatekeeping for over 10 years and not supporting local music. They claimed the station focused more on mainstream records instead of New York talent. Rosenberg responded, saying he personally shows love to underground artists, especially those from New York. And anytime New York radio gets criticized, Rosenberg is quick to defend himself. So last week, when N.O.R.E. came to Hot 97 for an interview with Murillo and said this,
Noriega's in the building!
The first time I was here is 1997, and I was here, promoting an album called The War Report.
Yes.
And for me to come here, 2026, and to promote being on the run, eating for real this time, is crazy. I was excited to hear this, to be on the show, because it's the first time in a long time that New York radio sounds like New York.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Say that.
Man, you already know Rosenberg wasn't about to let that slide. Listen to this. He was heated. So last week, he fired back at N.O.R.E. and made his stance clear. He basically said he's seeing people he respects, like N.O.R.E., casually throwing subtle shots and called it crazy. Then he flipped it into a deeper point, saying when it comes to New York, people suddenly get real selective about who belongs. He went on to break down his roots, saying his dad is from Brooklyn, he moved there in 2007, married a New Yorker, and even built a life and family in Manhattan. He also made sure to highlight that he's done more for New York underground rap than almost anyone on FM radio since K. Slay, rest in peace. And yet, he's still catching strays just because he didn't grow up going to high school in New York. Then he threw in that N.O.R.E. lives in Miami now, just to add a little edge to it. But here's where it gets interesting. Rosenberg wasn't the only one who felt that energy. Over on the Joe Budden podcast, episode 912, Joe Budden actually agreed and said, yeah, that sounded like a slick shot too. And when Joe co-signs something like that, you already know it adds fuel to the conversation. Now listen to what Joe had to say about it.
After you move from a place, do you get to claim the place? I'm thinking about this because of N.O.R.E. and Peter Rosenberg's little back and forth, where N.O.R.E. went to do the new morning show with Mero, and he was like, yo, it feels good to hear some New York. The show sounds like and feels like New York now.
Yeah.
To which Pete took offense.
He was doing
Because
a lot.
Pete is-
I love Pete, but that was a lot.
I thought he made a lot of valid points.
Wow. I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think there's anything harmful in saying that I like hearing New York voices on the premier New York radio station. Because none of them, respectfully, are from New York, and I think that's okay. It's okay to, it's not saying you weren't good at your job, it's not saying your show wasn't dope, it's not saying any of that shit. It's just it's nice to hear someone from New York on Hot.
I agree with that. But for people that are mutually fly with both Mero and the old morning show, and you go to the new show and say, oh, finally, and it feels good. I could see how it could come off a way to Pete.
The sauce, N.O.R.E. sounded sincere, and he didn't sound,
he
didn't sound mean in his, it's nice to hear New York voices on a New York radio station. If he said it like how you said it, I would completely understand.
But Pete's response was, I've been in New York for 20 years now. I've been repping underground New York hip hop more than anybody in the position. Married a New York woman, had my baby in New York. I've been in New York. And on the flip side, N.O.R.E. hasn't lived here for 15 years. And it wasn't until he got to the end that I was like, interesting. How long do we get to claim a place or act like we're in tune with the ons-goings of the place
I can speak as
while
someone
you don't
who's-
live there?
I don't think he did that.
I can speak as someone who's not from here. I've been here for 20 years. I still claim Elmira. I wouldn't complain if someone said, you don't sound like a New Yorker. I don't think that that's out of pocket because I'm not from New York. I think that's okay.
But sounded like it seemed like they were talking past each other because like I agree with you. It's like if you're not from there, you're not from there. You can always say that.
Right.
But Rosenberg's point was I put on for New York. In terms of the artists, in terms of the radio, all these other things.
And he did.
And that's what to me.
And his point was, I'm actively in New York right now during a mass exodus.
Right, doing New York
I'm
shit
here.
while you in Miami.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
the-
here and you're not.
And that's what, but
Why do you get to say that to me?
Yeah.
But he could still say, because I'm from here, I grew up here, I'm a New Yorker. Now that I touch down back in the city, whether it be 10 years, 15 years, it just feels good to hear it sounding like New York.
But why
That's
if you
both
listening
right.
to Florida radio?
So that
I'm not in Florida right
I'm
now.
listening to y'all more
but no,
Peachside.
but look, the fact that I
And
grew-
N.O.R.E is my brother and I love him.
I'm not in Florida right now. I'm back home in New York.
Nigga, you here for 2 days. Well, you give a fuck
And it
about how
feels
the
good
morning radio
But
sounds.
Joe, if I am listening to Florida radio every single day and I come home and touch down, it feels good to hear New York radio or New York voices on the radio. I think that wherever you spent majority of your time, you can't say N.O.R.E's not a New Yorker.
Right.
If I stood here, I went to jail here, I ran the streets here, I had my first fist fight here, I graduated high school, I did all of these things here, I'm certified stamped as a New Yorker. I don't give a fuck if I moved to Wyoming and lived there for the last 30 years of my life. I'm a New Yorker. You can't take that away from somebody because they've been gone for 10
But
years.
you gotta be mindful when you have the relationships with people.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm talking about the
I'm in
one
middle.
thing.
I'm
I'm
impartial.
just talking about the one thing.
Yeah.
You can't say that N.O.R.E's not.
Y'all
a
are
New
right,
Yorker.
but I'm split down the middle on this.
That's how you go on some-
Y'all-
That's
y'all-
why I
y'all-
wanted to both right,
y'all
but
are
you're
making
talking
fair
past each
points.
other.
I'm split down the middle
I'm
on
not
this.
dissing- I'm
N.O.R.E
not-
made the war report, so you can in New York.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. He could go move to West Bubblefuck after that.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's cemented in
Didn't he go
the
to Rutgers?
history of New York.
But if I'm a Chicago DJ and Kanye just happens to ride through Chicago tomorrow, like it's about time Chicago radio sound like Chicago, and like he ain't been there in I don't even know the last time he lived in Chicago. Like I could see the person who's a transplant but been holding down Chicago being like, "The fuck are you talking about?" But I also could see Kanye liking to hear Chicago voices on the radio. That's what I'm saying. To me, they both true. It just seemed like an unnecessary.
I can see both sides.
Yeah.
But you can't never say Kanye not a Chicagoan.
Right. That's why I'm saying it seems like they both could have just had their feelings and
Indeed.
thoughts and not even had this exchange.
N.O.R.E's comment didn't seem like a dig. It seemed like a big up.
Yeah, he just
And
bigging
I
his
think-
man. He was
But
just
it
bigging
does,
his man up.
it does come off like a dig just because Pete and them just got exiled from here, and now you just took the slot over, and now you're sitting here saying, "Oh, it feels good to hear New York again." So what you trying to say? It wasn't New York when I was here. You've been in New York.
Yeah, there's
in the
no
time
way for
frame.
that to not look like
It's
a
still
dig.
a dig, yo.
Yeah, sorry.
It's still a
Okay,
dig, no matter how you
we
look
got
at
it. We got
it. Even if it wasn't intended, that's a dig.
Not
It's not your first time in New York in 15 years.
Listen,
So you're speaking to the times you've been in New York, and it ain't sound like New York. But
Does
go ahead.
this conversation happen if Rosenberg still at high? Like
No.
And I don't obviously in the sense of like if he had said like I wish New York radio sounded like New York. In other words, does Rosenberg ignore this if they're not repositioning for the new with the new gig and with the new platform and all this stuff they're doing, which I like. Is this also like I'm gonna just seize this moment? Was it an overreaction for the
I
moment?
don't think so.
I have a question.
I think he took it as a dig and was rightfully.
What did we say when they appeared to be hiring a bunch of people from out of town to replace Rosenberg and them on the radio show? What was the general consensus by?
Hold up. So it's like, yo, N.O.R.E, you trying to diss us or what? Of course, N.O.R.E shut that down. He denied it completely. He said there was no diss. He made it clear that people were reaching. In his eyes, it wasn't aimed at anyone. But you know how this plays out. Once people take it that way, it sticks. And by then, the narrative was already out there. Even with the denial, folks still weren't convinced. Now here's what he said.
Thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for
Now
having me.
y'all triggered Rosenberg this weekend. You was up there with Mero and them, and then Rosenberg jumped on the IG talking about what was you saying?
So no, the clip. To be clear, the clip that Hot chose to put out.
Okay.
And I'll just let everybody know. I hit Mero and Kaz about this too.
God damn.
No, I did. I texted him because I'm like, why Hot?
He is petty.
No, because I said Hot. I said Hot. I texted him and said, damn, Hot's not going to be happy till we have beef. Because they put up a clip, and the headline in the clip was, Nore talks about how Hot 97 finally sounds like New York again.
Oh, I didn't see that.
See, you didn't see that.
You got me now.
Okay.
So, and then in the
didn't see that.
clip, Nore, you were there, you sat down with them, and you're like, yo, man, you know what feels good? New York, radio sounds like New York again.
Right. New York sounds like New York.
New York sounds like New York. And I guess my feeling was, and Ibra was being defensive on your behalf too. I don't think anybody hates Laura, even though she's a big time out of towner as well.
No, all three of y'all.
All three of us. Right.
Yes.
So I guess the way I felt was,
it seems like, and it wasn't just you, there are several people who I love have had that conversation where I feel like they're showing love to Mero and them doing the show, which is great. And I'm like, can't they just say, congratulations, I'm so happy? Why does it have to sound like it's a stab at what you replace?
Go ahead. I'm stuck on why is it even about you?
Right.
Like, why do you care?
I'm stuck on that. Like,
oh, we all against you right now?
I'm stuck
Hey, Nore,
on that. Because you thought it. Well, because Nore will tell you, like, I don't give a. I've never cared.
No, well, but we know that. What do you mean? We talk about it all the time.
But here's why. Because in any city you show up in, all they really care, and I've lived in many cities. All they care about is, are you showing their culture love?
You know how many times I used to bother you because I'm hearing you on the radio and I'm texting y'all in the morning. And I realized I'm kind of like stalking you a little bit. Like I love it. So
it was great getting text from you in the morning.
Yes, because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to be in tune with New York City. Although I live in Miami, I live where I live.
Right.
In my heart. So I love hearing.
But didn't you feel, and you felt like, in spite of the fact that 2 people from California and 1 person from DC, you felt like on our show, we were still bringing you what was going on in New York.
That was my point. Yes, that was my point. That's what I actually said. But when I hear the new show, and I hopefully y'all don't have beef with them.
No,
I'm not taking
at all.
sides.
Not at all.
But what I hear is, I do hear that New York accent. I hear that. I can smell a bacon, egg, and cheese. You know what I'm saying? I can smell the Timberlands coming through there, and it's a certain thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like you wouldn't probably never wear Timberlands in the summertime, right?
In the summertime?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
You see?
Yes.
That's
Whereas
why.
like Cypher wear them to the
That's why.
beach.
Yes.
I'm not wearing Timberlands in the summertime.
That's
no.
why.
Yes.
That's a rite of passage for us.
Never wanted to be from New York.
Right.
I've been coming here my whole life as a visitor. It's where my family's from.
So why'd you jump on Instagram with all this?
Oh, he went at me. He's been living in Miami 20 years.
Yes.
I'm like, what a mother.
But what I don't
He's my
I'm
friend.
still like that's why I just didn't clap. I'm not even in all this. Like I'm not in all of this. I want to be liked and accept me.
But that's
who
you.
cares?
But that's you, and I'm envious that you don't have that gene.
Right.
I put 20 years on Hot 97.
I respect that.
I did 18 and a half years doing the show real late, where you know very well, and everyone that I knew was like, Rosenberg's our guy.
Yeah.
All the New York
Playing
artists
New York
knew
underground
Rosenberg's
hip-hop.
our guy who will support. It's not that I ever wanted
Say it again, because
Playing that underground New York hip hop. Yes, we appreciate it.
I was
Yes.
that guy
Yes.
for everyone, from the most underground to literally Diddy.
Right.
Everybody in the middle would
shit.
reach out and be like, he's playing that stuff. Calm down, Nore. Calm down.
I don't know where to go with that. Go ahead. Continue.
I'm not saying I wanted anyone to say you're from New York.
Right.
I just want to say I understand it. I wasn't the guy they wanted. They chose.
no,
Let me finish. I'm not the guy they wanted. They chose. My name, my voice isn't them.
Right.
I just want, at some point, someone besides the artists who know to say, hey, man, he's not from New York, but he fucking held it down for the last 20 years when people from New York who were on the box were not doing it. So if I wore the Timbs and I'd originally been from New York instead of being from DC, then I'd be accepted. But because I did it and wasn't from there, it always has to be a quick pushback. So in that moment from you, who knows the real, I was like, why do you have to point that out? That's all.
Now, I personally gotta disagree with Joe Budden and Rosenberg. I don't think N.O.R.E. was throwing shots at Rosenberg or Ebro. If you watch N.O.R.E., the man has real New York pride. York is present everywhere he goes. Being from New York is a badge of honor for him. So when he hits up a New York station he grew up listening to, and everyone there is from New York, sometimes that pride just comes out. Honestly, if I were Rosenberg, I'd be more annoyed at Hot97 for stirring this up. The Hot97 Twitter account put out that promo clip knowing exactly what it would do: create drama. Even back in 2012, N.O.R.E. has always been about New York pride. So in my view, Rosenberg was a little too sensitive, which I get because everyone seems to be taking shots at you guys. Drop in the comments what you think about N.O.R.E.'s explanation that he wasn't taking shots at Rosenberg or Ebro. Do you think Rosenberg was too sensitive, or does he have a right to feel how he felt? Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys later.